before corn be planted. The potter must build his furnace before he can make his porcelain. As the breath of heaven saith unto the waters of the deep, this way shall thy billows roll, and no other. Thus high and no higher shall they raise their fury. So let thy spirit, O man, actuate and direct thy flesh. So let it repress its wilderness. Thy body is as the globe of the earth, thy bones the pillar that sustaineth it on its basis. As the ocean give rise to springs, whose waters return again into its bosom through the rivers, so runneth thy life from thy outward, and so runneth it into its place again. Do not both retain their course forever? Behold, the same Allah ordained them. Is not thy nose the channel to perfumes, thy mouth the path to delicacy? Are not thine eyes the sentinels that watch for thee? Yet how often are they unable to distinguish truth from error? Keep thy soul in moderation. Teach thy spirit to be attentive to its good. So shall these, its ministers, be always to thee conveyances of truth. Thy hand, is it not a miracle? Is there in the creation aught like unto it? Wherefore was it given thee, but that thou mightest stretch it out to the assistance of thy brother? Why of all things living art thou alone made capable of blushing? The world shall read the shame upon thy face, therefore do nothing shameful. Fear and dismay, which rob thy countenance of its ruddy splendor, avoid guilt, and thou shalt know that fear is beneath thee, that dismay is unnamely. Wherefore to thee alone speak shadows in the vision of the pillow. Reverence them, for know that dreams are from on high. Thou, man, alone canst speak. Wonder at thy glorious prerogative, and pay to him who gave it to thee a rational and welcome praise, teaching thy children wisdom, instructing the offspring of thy loins in piety. Shalom.
Long. Gratitude to our national Grand Mufti for his speedy actions. At this time, I'd like to say today is December the 2nd, 2023, and welcome to another Moorish Perspectives class, sponsored by our Moorish American government. Our host instructor is our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedo Aminti Amuheji Shepsuel. Our subject matter will be coming out of our new chapter of the week, Chapter 59, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, the Breath of Heaven, Ayat 1. Learn not thy body because it was first formed, nor of thy brain because therein thy soul resideth. Is not the master of the house more honorable than its walls? Again, gratitude to our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedo Aminti Amuheji Shepsuel, for opening up the way according to law, and gratitude to our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Kamshu Mayaka for reading the chapter of the week. At this time, we'll call on our host instructor, our National Assistant Grand Chief, Dr. Shedo Aminti Amuheji Shepsuel. Islam, Grandman. Unmuted.
Islam, can you hear me, Goddess and Queen?
Clear as a
Gratitude. Ooh-wee. Islamism without the schism. Want to rise upon the seven and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. Want to welcome you to another Moorish Perspectives as we give honors to our Grand National Flag, Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything, and I do mean everything, that our Holy Prophet brought to make us a nation. We welcome you to another Moorish Perspectives, and I'm your host instructor, Islam, Goddess and Queen.
Islam, Grandman, you're kind of coming in and out on our end on the conference call.
Okay, give me 1 second here. Let me see what I can do real quick, because we having problems on the other apparatus as well. So, okay, can you hear me now? Can anybody hear me?
It's still a little faint.
Okay. Okay, let me make sure that because it may let me see. Can any of my other Moorish kin hear me out there?
This one more. I'm getting an up and down
volume you get
in your voice as well.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so let me try this again.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, what about now, Moorish kin? It's raining real bad down here too, so I don't know, that might be the problem. It's been raining all day heavy. Can anybody hear me clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Gratitude. If it go up and down again, let me know, Moorish kin. Like I said, it's storming out here on my end. So that might be what's going on. Islam. Again, we want to welcome you to another Moorish Perspectives. And I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Mohadi Shabazel. And my ancient committee and high name being the same as Dr. Shedderwood Mintiel Muhammad Shepsuel. And we've got a grand drawing to bring on the Manifest Moorish kin. We apologize for the technical difficulties because I'm having problems here. It wouldn't even let me put this demonstration out here a few minutes ago. It kicked it off and I had to recreate the whole link again. So like I said, maybe because of the weather, because literally it's been raining all day today and yesterday, and the day before that, to be honest with you, over here. And so want to welcome our family to another Moorish Perspectives. And we have Islam, sister.
I'm in Michigan. I'm having the same technical difficulties. It's not the weather. Gratitude.
Okay.
I apologize for interrupting your class.
All right. Gratitude, Goddess and Queen. Thank you for the message. All right. So, yeah, we have a grand drawing to bring forth in relation to dealing with the holy instruction from the prophet, the breath from heaven. And so we definitely want to give our family some grand insight, dealing with self-mastery, the holy breath, and it's going to be a grand drawing as always, family. We actually drawing from our first ayat, the whole chapter in essence, but our first ayat is where we want to come from. This is a very important ayat, especially in the view of the last measure that y'all seen, even if you was watching my late night library session when we was dealing with, in reality, what is a Negro, but this is a higher level of vibration, but there is some significance that's relevant to that same conversation. And so it relates, like I said, more to the essence of what's being spoken on in this special ayat. Vaunt not thy body because it was first formed. Let's just deal with that particular part right there. Vaunt not thy body because it was first formed. In other words, this is special, your body, you, Moorish kin, were the first formed to ever come forth. Whether you deal with the actual full makeup of your body and having the structure and the symmetry that it have now, the arm, leg, arm, head, but also at the level of what we call protoplast. Protoplast actually itself means first form as well. So we're not vaunting the body because we are the most ancient, so to speak, even though, yeah, we know we are the most ancient. We've been here for hundreds and thousands, and we can even say millions and trillions of years when we get down to the elemental aspect of the self. But we're not vaunting anything of the manifest, so to speak, because it was first formed, just because of this particular truth. This is not a measure that gives us any type of license on the credit side of life to try to make ourselves more superior to somebody else and make somebody else inferior. That's just a part of our make. So praise be to Allah, for allowing us to be his prototype, though. That is an honor in and of itself. You see, even though you have those who would like to deny the prototype and try to claim to be the prototype without actually having, the historical or genealogical data to back that up, as we seen in that particular work that I was talking about earlier, where ones was trying to say that basically we was more of the bestial aspects and they was the human being and we came before them, but we was the beast. And then they contradicted themselves when they quoted Genesis chapter 2 verses 4-7, because that particular verse actually speaks of the pre-Adamites, because it speaks of the man, where it says that God breathed into man the breath of life and man became a living soul. And what ones don't know is that this is really referring to, the grand expression of flesh divine or spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah. You see, where man had the ability to cross the borderline at will, so to speak. He could take on any and every special manifestation as he will, because man coming up from that state of being protoplast or the first form as man in his elemental state, he went through various different stages of unfoldment in his pilgrimage of coming into existence. He was one with the great God Allah from the beginning, as we already established, as spirit man. And then coming on that special journey, he came through the various different stages of creation, which they like to call days of creation in the Piscean records. So this was man taking part in his own make, so to speak. You see, though it was the great God Allah that pretty much gave him the breath of life and made him a living soul, man was present with the great God Allah in his spirit self, because he comes from the essence of the great God Allah. And that's how he took part in his own creation. You see, coming from the spiritual into the physical. Unfortunately, he forgot, by the time he had slipped from the garden of his own consciousness. And so he forgot his essence. This is default by coming into the manifest, the murky ethers of the flesh, as we call it. So he had to relearn himself. He had to, go within to remember who made him. You see, This comes with what we call the fall of man. The creation of man and fall of man is synonymous. When you mention one, you basically mentioning the other, because this is speaking of the fall of the vibration of spirit into matter. And we know this is where the sluggish vibrations exist, whereas in spirit plane alone, purely, there is no sluggish realm. It's only when man or spirit man begin to take on this physical form or this physical garb that he becomes subject, to various different attributes and characteristics that deal with being in this fallen state that we call the flesh. And when we say fall, a lot of people may think that that has to do with being, some negative, so to speak. But it's simply speaking of, again, coming from on high, coming from a spiritual state into a physical manifestation. There's a lot that is lost when it comes to our divine constitution to us, so to speak. It's not lost to the sense that it's not there, but we just have to find ourselves. You see, and this is the task. And in the process of finding the self, there are obstacles that we must come through. There are different situations that we must be faced by, in order to find ourselves. In essence, in order to link our will up with the deific will and go back into a state of the original oneness that we separated from. You see? So this is the nature. The soul naturally is seeking out its native plane. The soul is naturally, striving to attach itself to its former glory. And we know the actions of the soul are thinking, willing, reason, understanding, and remembrance. So when we get into the aspects of dealing with what we call consciousness, consciousness goes through various different stages of manifestation. You are conscious whether you know it on all planes of your existence. You see, even when we leave this manifest, our consciousness again unfolds. And this process is what we call a cyclic process. Every ancient teaching, a mystery system, a teaching of the ancient mysteries, so to speak, they all taught of this special principle. But how was this made possible? Our holy prophet gave us a grand drawing, speaking in this special chapter. And we just came out of Know Thyself, where Allah told us, that there's a part, behold, there's a part of Allah within thee. And we went over that. It was a grand drawing in essence of this. See, what you have here is the essence of more science. You see, this is not any spookism. This is the reality of the science of your life. Remember, the chemistry, the ministry, and the mystery. You see? In other words, exactly how you are made. You see, and this is really divine alchemy as it has to do with yourself. That's why we talk about the chemistry. We know that the word chemistry in and of itself is connected to the ancient word chem, alchemy. You see? In other words, you are able to take this base nature and transform it from just being a mere body into elevating the essence to a higher tone. We heard our family speaking of this recently. This is called divine alchemy. So this is why we talk about the chemistry of mortal life. The chemistry of mortal life has to do with becoming an alchemist, transforming again from this carnal manifest, as we would say, like we told our family, going from the state of niggerdom to godhood. You see, that's alchemy. To come from being NBC, Negro, black, and colored, and return back to your state of being a true God man, brothers, a true God woman, sisters. This is divine alchemy. It's an alchemical process, not just fancy words being thrown around. You see? And when you reach that special level, you reach it by means of demonstrating the ministry. You see, the ministry again of death, as it has to do with the alchemical process of what we call the resurrection becoming a fact. The resurrection becomes a fact when you return to your original state, again, as being an emanation, a divine expression of the supreme reality, that we call the great God, being one through that deific will. And then once we reach that special state and the resurrection has become a fact, the fix has been solved, and now we can go into an understanding of what the mystery of deific life is. And that is what our life is spent to build, the temple of perfected man. You see? And yet we say, vaunt not thy body because it was first formed. Don't get arrogant. Don't get egotistical. You see? Don't let it go to your head, but let something get in your head, so to speak. You see? Even though it says, nor of thy brain. You see, don't vaunt that either, because therein thy soul resided. So now you get some consciousness and understanding when we say the great God Allah breathed it into the breath. I breathed the breath of life in the man, and man became a living soul. So we see that the soul resided in the brain. So he breathed consciousness into us. And by breathing that consciousness into us, this activated our ability to think, will, reason, understand, and remember, so that we may be able to return again to our former state, the ethers of our native plane. You see, but don't vaunt it now. Don't get so high and elevated to where you say, well, I'm going to exalt my particular demonstration above my throne, above the stars of God. Don't do that, because we already know you'll fall by climbing. But if you allow the natural process to take place, if you allow nature to take its course, then you will naturally begin to unfold. You will naturally begin to find yourself. If you stop trying to seek out the way in which you want to do it. If you allow the great God Allah and the ancestors, the ascended masters on high to guide you. If you allow the adepts that have already went beyond the plane of things made manifest. You see, like I said, this is not spookism. This is actually the science of human life. This is the science of human life, and we call it Moorish science. And we are doctors of divinity. So we have the credentials to be able to make this a fact. And we demonstrate it actually as we live it. As we live it, it becomes a reality. You see? And so this is a powerful demonstration, family, we getting ready to go into. But it goes on again, vaunt not thy body, because it was first formed. You the ancient of days, family. That's all good and well. But it goes deeper than just knowing that you are the ancient of days. And in Hebrew, they call this Atik Yamin. If you ever, looked at this ancient of days, is known as Atik Yamin. The ancient of days. It speaks of the ancient of days in the book of Daniel. When the throne was first set down in the heaven and the books were open. In the teachings of Islam, this would be the book of al-Kitab, or the Sabah al-Mathani, the real book. This is Sabah means 7. The original book of the 7, as it relates to, the circle 7 even, has to do with 7 oft repeated verses. And it is said, if you know those verses, then you pretty much know the whole Grand Quran. So it ain't strange that the prophet came forth with a circle 7 for us. And that our Moorish American prayer, the map as we call it, can be utilized, as the true unfoldment of what we call the international prayer to Al-Fatiha. You know, you often hear him say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmadeen. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina sirata al-mustaqim sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Right? In the name of the great God, Allah, the beneficent and merciful. What? Allah, the Father of the universe. Huh? Most gracious, most merciful, Master of the day of judgment. Allah, the Father of the universe. Allah, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. You see? And we can go line for line all the way down through each one of these particular ayats. You know, and it will manifest again the map. The map, family. You see? So knowing this, when we go further into this special drawing, we say, vaunt not thy body because it was first formed, nor thy brain because therein thy soul resided. Is not the master of the house more honorable than its walls? You seen a chart that I put out there dealing with our teaching, and it's actually in the Egyptian adept writer self-initiation, and there's a picture of our prophet in there as a student adept, and you see a skull. And there's a silhouette of a pyramid and the chambers of the pyramid within the skull. And it says the adept. So we find that the breathing, you know, of the breath of life or consciousness, you know, into man is a representation on one aspect of how we evolve through various different stages of growth. And I told our people recently that like to talk about evolution. Everybody like to talk about this apeism and monkeyism and all this type of stuff here, and we already know that's a bunch of hogwash, which we don't deal with at all. You know, so we understand that man evolves in his consciousness. He don't evolve, you know, from one creature to another creature. You know, it just don't work like that. You know, now we can get into some aspects and really tell you how that ape came into existence if you really want to go there. But I don't think a lot of people really want to go there, you know, because they'll have to wonder about violating that Sabbath, as the Grand Quran said, because he said he turned some people into apes and swine because they violated the seventh day. That's the day in which man was formed in flesh, and the day in which man, you know, departed out of flesh. The day of ascension and the day of descending. You see, anytime you get in the way of a hallowed event or a hallowed day, you know, ain't no telling what's service to happen. You see, but you can believe that ain't got nothing to do with, you know, those who are naturally inclined toward the goodness of the great God, because you got to remember the first man was made from a thought of the great God Allah in the first place. He wasn't made from getting in between the sheets, jumping up and down. No, the first man came from the process of being a thought of the great God Allah made manifest. So naturally, anything that comes through that line of descendancy has a common ancestor that is divine. Now, when you get into everything that come after that, dealing with the flesh, and they get into them type of activities, you see, that's the difference between the original man and the man that was made from the original man. Once you understand that, you say, oh, now I see why, you know, though, yeah, we may be in the flesh as a people, it just ain't in us to be just naturally of the flesh and get caught up in the flesh, because we are always reaching up higher to return back to the essence, because that's how we're made. Now, everything else hybrid that come from us, we want to give honors to our family out there now using the word that we put out there recently, you know, that devolution process, devolution, whichever one you want to use, you know, and it speaks of that in the Grand Quran. You know, we created man in the best of mode, but he embases himself to the lowest of the low, you know. So that's how you go from God status, to ape status, if you ain't careful, you know. But definitely ain't got nothing to do with us from the onset. Make no mistake about it, people. And we can show you, these things in the Piscean records, as well as dealing with the Grand Quran. Surah 18, that talk about the ones that was actually, put in a state where they was roped up or gated up in a particular environment known as the Caucasus Mountains. That's in the Grand Quran. It's there. August Khan was the one that did it to him, the Lord of Two Horns. One of our Moorish brothers from the Quetta bloodline. Today they like to call them, the Turks. But they got some Moorish blood in them too. But also in the book of Job, when he tell you about the ones that was pretty much taking him through torment, that was actually coming from a particular area where they were not as civilized, as we think civil is to be. So this stuff is in the books, it's in the history and everything. And they have a lot of depictions of these, but it don't have anything to do with us. You see? And so you can't breathe the breath of life into something that's soulless and let the European tell us in the book I was going over, we ain't got no soul, but we know better than that. But we know who was made in a laboratory, and we know that who we couldn't give a soul. Go read the book of fire. Want to give honors to our chairman for that special drawing. So there's somebody out there trying to misdirect you. Somebody out there trying to tell you just a ball of flesh. Somebody out there trying to tell you not only you a ball of flesh, but you was manufactured right here in the US of A. You was made in the US of A is what they'll try to say, right? But in our one-on-ones, we ask the question, well, who made you? Allah. Well, I don't recall the United States even being on the manifest during that special time. So you couldn't have been made in the USA. You see what I'm saying? So, now that we got that out the way, again, our subject matter is dealing with the holy instructions from the prophet, the breath of heaven, the breath of heaven. And we're going to get into this, and actually we're going to come out of, in this particular drawing, we're going to come out of our exegesis of the Quran, because we actually already went over the dictionary definition recently. So we're going to go into the special drawings that have been given here, and this is very powerful, family, that we getting ready to bring on the manifest. And so we encourage our family to have a paper and their pen on handy. And both of these books, like the dictionary of the Quran, comes from, the brother, Umar, and his wife. She actually wrote the commentary. So this was, a brother and a sister that wrote their particular measures. And so we getting ready to go into the sister's take, of this particular drawing. And she got a lot of commentary she put out here, which is very important for us to have these particular versions, because not only are there new versions to this information, but it also adds on to what we are building upon. So we want to give honors too to our family that's checked in, the brother Capricorn, Magi, Kamaat, Gary Miles Bay, C-Mac, Born Dog, honors to all of y'all family, all is well. And so let me share the screen real quick so we can get into this special drawing. I want to get our page up here first, and then we'll go deep into the subject matter. And again, we coming from, like I said, the Quran Exegesis Dictionary. I call it, you can call it dictionary too somewhat, but it's really deeper than that. It has the same words that are in the dictionary, but it just goes more into a breakdown. Let's just put it that way. So we can just call it commentary if that's what you want to do. That's what it's called by the author. So that's all good and well. So I'm just trying to get to this page here. And once I get to the page, we're going to go into this special drawing and touch on some of these things. We already know what Ruh is, what we call the Ruh Allah. So this is going to touch on that, but go into it a little deeper in detail. So I have everything in a particular order. So we want to make sure this thing flow properly. All right, now that we got it, let me share my screen. All right, we'll just hit entire screen to make sure that our family have everything. Okay, so we share it now. All right, and let's get back over here. Now there's a measure too, that if you go into the Holy Quran, there are certain words here too before I go into this drawing. For example, if you notice here, in it, it says, as the breath of heaven saith unto the waters of deep. It says, this way shall thy billows roll, and no other, thus high, nor higher, shall they raise their fury. So let thy spirit, O man, right, actuate and direct thy flesh. So let it repress its wilderness. And otherwise, don't let that savage self run wild. Let your spirit actuate and direct your flesh, it says, right? And we can go all the way down here. And there's another measure right here where it says in Ayat 10, keep thy soul in moderation. Teach thy spirit to be attentive to its good. So shall these, its ministers, be always to thee conveyances of truth. You see? So you have the ability, to enlighten yourself. But the only way you can do this is by having a knowledge of thyself. And then, like we say, beholding that part of the great God that is within you. That's the hierophant that's within you. That's the master teacher that's within you. That's the true instructor that exists within you, that will teach thy spirit to be attentive to his good. This is what will keep the soul and its actions in moderation. You see? The way we think, the way we will, the way we understand, the way we reason, the way we remember, so to speak, right? So let me go into this special exegesis, this tool that we have here, and listen to how it starts off. I'm telling you, this ain't ordinary right here, family. This material here, that dictionary and this right here, when it comes to dealing with the Muslims, listen to this. It says, on the origin of human beings, the Holy Quran gives a different story of creation. It says, to the one we read in the Bible. And in the Holy Quran, the creation of human being is summarized in the following words. You know what? I can get my read aloud here. Let me see. It should be able to read this. And then we'll go into, our particular measures here and there when we utilize the pause. So let's see what happens. It should work. Mashallah. Come on. Don't you freeze up on me. Let me see something here. Give it a minute there. I know our family on the conference call here, man. I might end up, if this lock up on me, I may end up having to shut it down and come back in. But that's all good and well, because we're going to keep building. Because we know Rome ain't built nothing to last. And we know when it comes to dealing with this type of stuff here, they like to play. So that's all right. So what we're going to do, we're going to shut the apparatus down and open it back up again. And we won't even try to let it we'll read it out. sure. And I want to apologize to our family, for the drop, and all is well. We bite. And so what we're going to do, we're going to share our screen again, and we'll just read through the portions that we want to, because again, we know that Rome got some hindrance going on here. And again, it could be the weather maybe, because even my phone was acting crazy earlier. So all is well. Hold up, let me put that back up. All right, there we go. We bite, family. We bite. So we're going to just read this demonstration ourselves. Let me open it back up again. Start from the top. We don't lay down easy, family. Lay down easy. We get right back up. It ain't nothing that can be done to stop this truth that we demonstrate. So yeah, here we go right here, family. Like I said, I read it manually rather than trying to use, the other measure, because we don't want it to freeze up again. That's cool. I'm all right with that. It says, on the origin of human beings, the Holy Quran gives a different story of creation to the one we read in the Bible. In the Holy Quran, the creation of human being is summarized in the following words. Recall the time when your Lord said to the angels, I'm going to create a human being from dry wringing clay, from black mud, molded in the shape. Salsal min hama masnoon is what they say. Salsal min hama masnoon. And this word salsal actually represent that dried wringing clay, so to speak. And hama is another way of, really connecting to the word ham, like ham and so forth and so on. And then they use the translation black mud. Now don't get no ideas and go, oh yeah, this and that, he's a black man. No, that wasn't even existing then when the great God Allah was. And it's not a nationality. That's something was created by Rome. You see? And when you go into the essence of this, it says, so when I have shaped him in perfection and have breathed my spirit into him, fall you down in submission to him. Y'all always hear me quoting that. That's Surah 15, ayat 26 through 28. You see, Saul min hama masnoon, right? Check it out. This is why I emphasize and I say it's not the flesh that they were told, in essence, to prostrate toward. If he breathed into man the breath of life and man become the living soul, and we call this again flesh divine, or we call this spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah, then in essence, his spiritual garb was a representation of the great God Allah, because in the Arabic they use the term Ruh Allah as well, the spirit of Allah. So when Iblis say, I ain't bowing down to him, you created me from fire, you created him from clay. Let it on, you can throw a little dirt on top of some fire and you can really smother it. But, nevertheless, that was the first act of, prejudice being demonstrated by Iblis himself. But anyway, it goes on to say, it says, the story of the origin of humankind is scattered throughout the Holy Quran. He said, we can begin it with the Quranic statement, there did pass over a human being a while of a long space of time when he was nothing or not a thing mentioned. That's Surah 72, ayat 1. You see, and many people don't know, that when it goes into this special measure, it actually says, it don't even say Adam here. Actually, it says alay al-insana, alay al-insani. And the word insan is being used for man. Al-insan is being used for man instead of the word Adam. And so this actually transcends the physical. You see, when you deal with Adam actually represents different periods, according to the dictionary of the Quran, that start different stages of beginnings, as opposed to just dealing with some man who came into existence 6,000 years ago. The Grand Quran doesn't support that narrative. So the Adam concept really represent different cycles, Adamic cycles, if you want to call it. That's why we say Adam Kadman was a pre-Adamite. That's why in the Quran, dictionary of the Quran, it says that there was over 100,000 Adams. And we always give that example and say, for example, if it was a particular brother and he had his God woman, then they would birth, their particular seeds in their cycle. So these really represent cycles more than dealing with something that deals with the actual man. But when we get back to al-insan, the word that they use up here, al-insan, Surah 76, it says, there did pass over a human being a while of long space of time when he was not a thing worth mentioning. It didn't mean here, pardon self, that he wasn't there or he wasn't present. When it says not a thing worth mentioning, there were no brains, or minds, so to speak, in existence. When we go back to man being spirit man, to comprehend the existence as we comprehend it now, we had to be produced first and then come into a stage of being able to comprehend how we came into existence. Can you go back to the time and remember what you was doing in the womb of your mother? No. So that's the likeness of trying to think about, how we demonstrated, in the spirit realm. You really have no consciousness of how you were demonstrating, but you know that the spirit is immortal. Now we can read about and study the self and go into the records that have been left behind by the ancestors, coming through the great God, and learn about the journey that we came. Ain't that beautiful? Ain't that beautiful, family? To know that we are actually studying the records that have to do with us coming into being, coming from our most ancient point into the present, also taking part of coming into this, losing that thought, that mind, or that memory. And now we are tapping into the mental Rolodex, as our brother Bati Bey would say, and returning to that information. So it says, there did pass over a human being. Wow, Alan Sonny now, in son, a while of a long space of time when he was not a thing worth mentioning. So what is that long space of time? If it ain't eternity, if it ain't time never was when man was not, then what you thinking about? Because that's what we learned in chapter 1. Spirit man was always there. So he's not bound by that special time. You see? And in fact, time didn't even start and begin until, that word being it is caused that vibration, caused spirit to move upon the face of the deep. No face of the deep that they speak of in the book of Genesis. So that means some nostrils had to be present too, huh? So he breathed into man the breath of life and he became a living soul. Spirit clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. Deific will. Flesh divine. Beautiful, beautiful. So it makes sense then when he said, bow down in prostration. So anyway, it said this was our state of non-existence. See, they confirming it. Y'all think this might be Brother Shaheed making this stuff up, but they confirming it. I've been teaching this before I even got this book. But I'm just showing you. That's why I say I read for confirmation, not just for information. So it says this was our state of non-existence. It says, like the cosmos, the emergence of human beings from the smallest particles. Oh my goodness. No, y'all didn't go there, did you? Called diffused, chaotic, scattered dust. Turab. Surah 22, ayat 20, ayat 5, Surah 30, ayat 20, 35, ayat 11, Surah 40, ayat 67, 18, ayat 37. So when y'all hear me, and I speak of protoplasm being the first form, and we know this is elemental state, we have it right here in an authentic source from the Grand Quran saying the same exact thing. You see? This goes all the way back to the concept of when y'all hear me make reference to the scientific term panspermia. Because the nature of science is that you can accept whichever scientific model you want to. You got some that like to accept that atheism concept. I accept the panspermia concept that said that this planet was seeded with life by intelligent beings, and we actually consist of stardust. Didn't they just say right here? The emergence of human beings began from the smallest particles called diffuse, chaotic, scattered dust. You think that's talking about regular dirt on the ground? No, that ain't talking about the regular dirt on the ground. You know what? I'm finna go there too real quick. Since we getting into this aspect right here, because I did a presentation not long ago, and I was speaking on the atom. And I'm gonna pull this up real quick because I actually go into the dust that we referring to here. A lot of people don't know when you read. This is why it's necessary that you read, and learn the language of these particular texts, because what they do, they take you deeper into this information. This was actually a measure I demonstrated called the atom of the scriptures, science or conjecture, and that's ATOM. A lot of times when I would teach years ago, I would say, atom really represents Allah, the original mind, ATOM, an acronym, Allah, the original man. I would say that if you go into it from the Kemetic aspect, ATUM, then we say Allah, the universal mind, and so I would demonstrate those as special drawings. Acronyms are very powerful if you know how to use them right. So what I did is the reason why I named it the atom of the scripture, science or conjecture. I went to go into it, and I found right there in that same thing y'all heard me quote earlier, Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. It says, of the deep, the Spirit of God. Of the deep, the Spirit of God was moving upon the face of the waters, right? You see? Well, what you think was going on? Who do you think was present then? You was present then. You see? Didn't it tell you over here, when we go back to our book, our state of non-existence as far as dealing with the manifest, but yet we were present in spirit, in our elemental state. We was just in what they call in scientific term, the ground state. You see what I'm saying? So that's a powerful demonstration. Look that term up, ground state, in science, and you'll get what it say. So the word that's actually used here is the word ruach, and this can be found. Let me put this in right here because I see my screen dim. We ain't finna let this demonstration shut down on us. Again, I gotta put my little cord in here. There we go. So ruach is the same word that becomes ruh. In the Arabic. Ruach in Hebrew is Arabic ruh. R-U-A-C-H in Hebrew and R-U-H in Arabic. Same words. Breath, wind, spirit. We already went over these things. And it goes into many aspects. It talks about the breath, wind, and spirit. It speaks of air, anger, blast, breath, breathless, cool, courage, despondency, exposed, heart, inspired, mind, motives, points, quick temper, side, spirit, strength, temper, thoughts, trustworthy, wind. All these different definitions, just like in Arabic. But there's something significant when you keep going. In Strong's Exhaustive Concordance 7307, it gives the same definitions. It gives all the same definitions pretty much. And you keep going and you understand where it says, let there be light. In the word ma'or or ore is used for this word. Same word that's M-A-O-R correspond with the Kemetic word M-A-U-R, which corresponds with the hidden one, Amen. But he said, let there be light. But in all actuality, he wasn't talking about, light from the solar bodies, because that was said to be made on the fourth day. The light that was made on day one had to do with the spirit itself illuminating the darkness of the universe. And this is what is called a light being, or what we call light bearers, so to speak. These are, your cherubim, your seraphim, your Elohim, and so forth and so on. It is said that when the light was separated from the darkness, this is when, the negative spirit came into the manifest, so to speak. That's where by virtue of things becoming manifest, this was able to thrive. So it said, let there be light, and there was light. And the same thing was used here. Again, there it is there, my order. It says, let there be lights in the expanse of the firmament. Now, it's 7 different firmaments, 7 levels of the firmament, the 7 heavens. In the Grand Quran, it tells you these 7 heavens, the Sabbat al-Mathani is connected to that, the book of creation and so forth and so on. Samawati, the 7 heavens, it actually has to do with the first book of creation unfolding, whether our people know it or not. But we are told that Allah himself ascended above the 7 heavens, and they use the word istawa. He rose, he ascended. So this would represent Allah in his various states, of his throne, and we call it omnipotence. Some people say omnipotence, omnipotence, omniscience. You see, or some people say omniscience, omnipresence. These 3 different degrees refer to the levels of the throne of the supreme reality. And our holy prophet said, I'm going to take the Moors, my good Moors, up above the sun, moon, and stars around the almighty throne of Allah. That's a powerful statement. But let me go into this, because we want to get to this dust that we was talking about. Because they actually go into this. They use a lot of words. This is another word for the word or, dealing with light. Again, watch this. This is that word maore, 3974 that I was referring to a few minutes ago. See what it says? A luminous body, a luminary. So when you look at your original self, before you became this physical body, you was a spiritual luminary. You was a luminous body. You was a light being. You see? That's what you were. Mora. Maore. Same word. Connecting to that word mar. See? A luminary. Amen. So you can see the influence of the Kemetic upon the Hebrew language here, right? So this get deep now. Now it says abak. This is a word they use, which means small dust, powder, abak, light particles, small dust or powder. What did they just say over here in the exegesis? When we go into our state of non-existence to the world, though we existed spiritually, like the cosmos, the emergence of human beings began from the smallest particles called diffuse, chaotic, scattered dust, turab. There's a connection between this, right? I want to make it plain now. So it even goes further when you look into it, that particular portion of Proverbs that you hear me quoting from when I say man was with God, Proverbs chapter 8, here's a portion from that same proverb when man said that he was present with the great God Allah from the beginning, before the foundations of the earth even was created. And we talk about Kadman. Look at the definition of the word for dust here. Because it says, nor the first dust of the world. Before the first dust of the world, the highest dust of the world. This was not talking about worldly dust. This was talking about stardust, family. You see? Another word in the Hebrew, which is 6083, which is aphar. And it actually means This says dry earth here, right? Dust, right? But then it goes into the aspect of afar, which is showing you that it is different from the word that was used in this particular area that we was mentioning a few minutes ago. You know, that stardust, so to speak. The one we were speaking of here in Proverbs. Aparot is what they called it here. So you see a difference between the two. You know, see it say man was made from the dust of the ground right here in the book of Genesis. You know, and then they go into other areas right there. They go into the physical make of man. So you have what we can call the celestial make of man, and then we have the physical make of man. You see, this is powerful because everything came out of the cosmos, remember? And this is all throughout the Piscean record. You just got to know what they call the Hebrew. You know, like even here they was talking about in one definition 1851 dak. You know, another word for it says dwarf. Fine, you know, like dwarf stars. You know, we can go into those aspects. Here's another measure here. Shakak 7834. In Strong's Concordance, it means a cloud of small dust, heaven, sky. So we already know this is talking about, you know, stardust. If it's the heaven in the sky, shakak, a powder beaten small by analogy, thin vapor, by extension, the firmament. See? Small dust, heaven in the sky, shakak. So there are many different words, family, we can go through. But then when you go into the Greek portion, the word atomos, you know, which is coming from the word atom, it's uncut, indivisible moment in time. Remember we was talking about, is there not a period of time of a man when he was not even mentioned? Doesn't mean that he wasn't there. He just wasn't mentioned because there was no one to read the records. The records had not yet been produced. He was still in the cosmos until he became manifest. This ain't something we making up. I'm just going by the records that we have out here and making sure I stick to what's being said and not just romanticizing something. I'm going through what I've seen, right here in the record. You see? And it says atomos, you know, not able to cut or divide, be measured like a split second, instant, individual moment of time, too short to measure. You know, it goes all the way into this. It says it can also be atomos as a negative particle, you know, base of 5,114. That's actually just giving another number to connect to the words. It says, i.e. implication indivisible, an atom of time, a moment of time. See, right here. And then it say, right up here in this same record right here, did there not pass over a human being a while of long space of time? Though the potential for him to manifest was there, it was not yet made manifest. He had to come from the hidden into the manifest. And him coming from the hidden into the manifest was the time where it was stated, let there be light, according to the Piscean record. That was you. And then everything else comes behind that in your pilgrimage and coming into existence. I ain't saying that. I'm showing you what the book's saying, what these, you know, commentaries are saying. You see? So is not the master of the house more honorable than its walls? Because surely the master of the house or your consciousness represents the light that was shown or shining in the consciousness after you become awakened. It says, again, it says the Holy Quran mentions many intermediate stages in human evolution, starting from its crudest stage of scattered dust. Huh? It says the scattered dust was brought together and formed tin or dry clay. And thereafter was a stage of an extract from the clay. Sulat mintin. You see? And by adding water to it, a clay that sticks together, tinal adzab, pardon self. It says we find several verses that refer to the origin of life from water. Surah 24, ayat 45. And the other was actually 37, ayat 11. The one before that was 23, ayat 12. A fact that was scientifically verified in modern times. There's something within you that informs thy clay, is what we was told in Know Thyself, right? It says the origin of life from water includes human being, which is confirmed by the Holy Quran. It is he who created the human being from water. In other words, from the firmaments. When we speak of the water, we're not even getting into the aspect of water as it has to do with in the liquid form, but more water in its vapor form, so to speak. As it was saying earlier about the dust and all of that right there. This prerequisite was already in place, for he used this water in the creation of humankind. Powerful. Powerful. And the breath was present, family. It says in the process of creation, there were stages of solat min mahun. It says extract derived from the clay and the water, Surah 32, ayat 8, of dry ringing clay, mixed with water and formed black mud, which was then molded into a shape. Sal min hama masnoon. You see? It says, then there's an insignificant fluid, mahmuhi. It says, which is deposited in a safe place until an appointed time. It says, mahin is not to be confused with human sperm. See? It says, which is called nufta, nutfta. Nufta. It says, imshaj. And that's 76 ayat 2, which is in the same measure I was given early in 1837. Allah says in Surah 35, ayat 1, he adds to his creation constantly as he wants. And this is the evolutionary process that comes from the great God through intelligent design. It ain't nothing happening by chance like they like to tell you in Darwinism. It's a method to this process. It didn't just happen out of nowhere. Don't let nobody tell you that, family. This is the short description of the origin of various forms of life in humankind, from the scattered dust to dry, ringing clay, from black mud molded into shape. About this evolution, we read in verse 56, ayah 62, you know the first evolution of the intended creation. Why don't you then reflect? See, in order to know yourself, you got to reflect. You see, you got to know who you are in order to know yourself, right? Let me go through some other measures in here. I got some other pieces in here that I want to cover. And you see him when I was telling y'all earlier that the man was referred to in Surah 76 as Al-Insan. And this is not dealing with Adam, as you know him 6,000 years. This is way, and when you hear Allah speak of Al-Insan, this is synonymous with the same as that of Kadman. It says the use of the word Arazahum tells us that Allah presented to the angels a highly rational being who was to be the manifestation of a number of his attributes. That's why you hear us talking about Sebagatala. Sebagatala is the process of expressing the attributes of the great God Allah. This is our school of thought. We want to become, through the will of the great God, his love. We want to become through the will of the great God, his truth, his peace, his freedom, his justice made manifest. You see? So it says, again, the use of the word Arazahum tells us that Allah presented to the angels a highly rational being who was to be the manifestation of a number of his attributes. So if you are a manifestation of Allah's attributes, then your will definitely got to be linked up with his will, because these are his attributes. It says the perfect human being, Insan al-Kamil, Insan il-Kamil. Sometimes they say Insan al-Kamil, but it's actually Insani Kamil. And this actually deals with the beauty of man as an expression of the attributes of the great God Allah. We call it perfected man. This is the perfect human being. What life is spent to build. To manifest that which was already perfect, that was hidden, into reality. The manifest. It says the creation of such a perfect human being who can be imbued with the with the divine attributes was a refutation of the concern of angels when they said, will you create then beings who would cause disorder on the earth or shed blood? Allah told the angels, he said, I know what you know not. I know what I'm doing. Don't get caught up in, what I'm showing you and lose sight of the reality of what it is, basically. This question was justified because some people would recognize Allah's vicegerent. Remember, man was Lord of the plane of soul, Lord of the plane of thing made manifest. Accept him and follow him, while others would disagree with him and reject him, causing discord, friction, bloodshed between the two groups. Allah meant that such a perfect Adam could not initiate disorder and shed blood. So we know this is not the Adam of 6,000 years ago. This had to be that Adam Kadman, who's mentioned in the Arabic as well as the Hebrew. Adam Kadman is known in most doctrines, even into some Kemetic measures. But it says this becomes clear in the following, the verse 2, Surah 2, Ayat 33, when Allah says, did I not tell you that I know the hidden realities of the heavens and the earth? In other words, Allah did not give this knowledge to the angels. He knew the knowledge that he had placed in the heavens, the mind of man, and also in the manifest of the body of man, because the heaven represents the mind. The body represents the earth. This is the earthbound portion of us. So did I not tell you that I know the hidden realities of the heaven and the earth? I know what I put in this man, or have desire to put into this man. Why do you think Iblis was punished? Because he didn't bow down before. That right there tell us something, in and of itself, huh? This is a powerful demonstration, family. So let me see here. Let me go to the other portion, because I got a few measures to be covered in this. And not far off right here. We just trying to let you know what's in us that's more honorable than, the walls of this clay. It's a master in this house, and not a slave master neither. Don't get it twisted. This right here just actually gives us a deep background on the Ruha. We were told that Yehoshua was blessed with Ruh al-Qudus, which is the word, a divine revelation. Qudus is, in conjunction with the Hebrew word Kadesh, the Holy Spirit, they like to call it Holy Ghost, or whatever, Allah placed this, into Yehoshua. That was Yehoshua, a real person, not the physical man, Jesus, that they get caught up into. It's the Ruh. His true station was Ruh al-Qudus. You see, just as Jabril's station is Ruh al-Amin. You see, and there's a connection between the two, whether we know it or not. There's a connection back to the great God Allah. Ruh, derived from Raha. Remember, it means to do good. It means to go. Turhana means to bring home, evening. Ruh is also Rahat, means rest from grief. You see, and we can go on and on and on with this, especially draw it. Ruh is a divine blessing. Down here says it's a sense of the breath of life, a life-giving, soothing mercy. So the mercy is within you. There's a measure in the Grand Quran, where the great God Allah say, well, my mercy has overcome my anger. Because the spirit in you transcend, them type of sentiments when it comes to dealing with the emotion and so forth and so on. I got another measure here I'm going to bring up. We getting ready to get to a point where we're gonna open up the floor in a minute. Okay, let me see here. I'm gonna have to pull this down because it's moving too slow for me. Okay, let's see where we at. Okay, a little bit more. Let's see here. Okay, I'm close. Just a little bit more down here. We want to really go into detail about this measure as it relates to the self, family. Let's go a little further. Okay, let's see. There we go. We're right here. 657 is where I was trying to get. It's still talking about, that same ayat of the creation. This is going through the evolutionary stage. We just mentioned that. Talking about mention of the creation of insan and jinn. Isniyat, compassionate benevolence in nature. And I talked too about Bashara. This word Bashara is a very important measure because it actually deals with what they call the good body. That's mentioned too. And this is actually dealing with the human being who would be the recipient of the divine revelation, to whom the great creator would disclose himself. This is the meaning of the ruh, Bashir. So we say Ba, like in ancient Kemet, Ba. This actually means good body, the one that will bring the good news. This is man himself. It says Surah 15, Ayat 29, same stuff. We see it in the same area. It says the creator breathed his spirit into him, insan, not Adam. He breathed his spirit into insan and thus made him capable of receiving divine revelation. Now this perfect creation demanded prostration before the creator. The word lahu informed that this prostration had to be done before the creator for the sake of his bashar, the bringer of good tidings, who can be a divine messenger endowed with his ruh. And this has a sense of divine revelation and mercy. Man, I love this work, family. See, it says the iblisiyat, iblis is stubbornness and arrogance. And these traits, it says, are a great hindrance in the spiritual uplifting of a human being. See? Allah dislikes and does not accept stubbornness and arrogance. That iblisiyat in the human being. You got to stay out that lower self, so to speak. So let me keep going real quick. Just get a few more minutes to close this measure out because we want it to be complete. You don't want to rush it to the point that it's incomplete. We can spare a few more minutes. It be like that sometime when you're dealing with the truth. Okay, because it's so vast, it's that vast, and you still don't exhaust it. This is a particular drawing here. I was talking about that a few minutes ago. Let's go right here. It says, this journey with his complete withdrawal from the world of bodies into the realm of souls, it was the experience, and it's talking about Muhammad when he went into his journey, his night journey. The highest order was experiencing a state of complete wakefulness and vigilance, a state different, however different from the conventional wakefulness and vigilance. He was traversing the grand kingdom of Allah, it say, with a body of light. And that same body of light that one is able to travel with when they transcend the body, we too are able to travel. That's why it says, why was spirit man given a soul? That he might function upon the plane of soul. Why was he given a body of flesh? That he might function upon the plane of things made manifest. This is why Surah 70 in the Grand Quran talk about the angels ascending and descending upon the ladder. You see, and it says a journey taken on that special ascension is like 50,000 years to the carnal mind. But to Allah, it's just the twinkling of an eye, or like the snap of a finger. So think about it, how Allah's time is as opposed to man's time. And you think you did time, you don't think you waited a long time, ain't had enough time, and all types of mission. But time never was. So it says the human spirit has a yearning to return to its source. Didn't we say that earlier? Surah 8, Ayat 32. Just as the sun rays reflected by a polished mirror return to the sun, and neither disappear nor are destroyed. As Allah says, He breathed into the human being His own spirit. Surah 8, Ayat 32. This spirit is a part of that great spirit and has an infinity and love for that source from which it was separated. That's love divine. The people of Allah whose souls tread on this path have eyes with which they see, ears with which they hear, hearts with which they understand, tongues with which they speak, but they are different from the eyes, hearts, and tongues of ordinary people. It is with these eyes that they witness what they narrate, and with these ears that they listen to the divine discourse and convey what they have been told to convey. With these hearts they understand the truth, and with these tongues they speak the truth. Allah says that the soul is under His direct command. Surah 17, Ayat 85. I don't know about nobody else, but when we hear this, we understand now why. Can we see Him? No. Where's the nearest place we can meet Him? In the heart. You have to be dealing with the 7 eyes of Allah to be able to see beyond the plane of things made manifest. But guess what? We was amongst the 7 Elohim in the beginning. So let me go a little further. And we all almost there, family, in our opening. So hold your phases. Okay. Let's see here. I want to go back here. We want to make this plain. That way our family can have a clear conception of why the master of this house is more honorable than its walls. Now, what we do with it after we know it, that's on us. With this type of information, can't nobody enslave you no more. Can't nobody tell you that they're your master unless you believe that they are. So this is a powerful measure. Let me get this other few definitions here. Okay, there we go, right there. We at the page where we're trying to get to. Where is it? Let me make sure. Okay, it was the 40 and 41. Okay, this is the one I wanted to come to. Because we often see a prophet as a thought of Allah made manifested in human flesh. You can't stop Allah from thinking. Listen to this in reference to the same measure. It says divine disclosure is not limited to prophets, because we was just talking about the divine disclosure a few minutes ago. Allah created the human being in the finest make, in the best proportion, Surah 95, Ayat 4, and taught him the art of intelligent and clear speech and reason, Surah 55, Ayat 2 through 3. These faculties set him apart from the rest of his creation on this earth. Not only this, Allah breathed into him His spirit, Surah 32, Ayat 9, Ru'Allah, which made him capable of being the recipient of the divine words. Now this human being who carries His spirit feels love for Him, seeks His nearness and desires to hear His voice, and longs for His glimpse, like a lover who wants to reach his beloved, like Moses when he spoke, "My Lord, reveal yourself to me, that I may look at you." In Surah 7, Ayat 143, it says, such a yearning cannot be left unattended without guidance, speech, and sight. Now, if the Creator did not guide you, did not pay heed to your supplications, did not open for you who are knocking at His door, and did not cover you with His love, He would be cruel. And He could not claim that He is Al-Rahim and Al-Wadud, the one full of mercy and love. Either you would have to deny His existence, or you must accept His mercifulness, His graciousness, His power of speech, His power of listening and answering your supplication, His power of converse, kalam. See Surah 28, Ayat 31 through 34. Therefore, attending to you as a requirement of His attribute, His invisible where He is invisible but manifests Himself to His chosen servants. Just as He hears, so does He speak. to whomsoever he wants to speak to. He discloses himself. Listen, he sends his revelation to his chosen ones because of their yearning for him. And there always exists a person who is more pleasing to him. That person among us, we know, is Prophet Noble Drew Ali, right? Surah 89, 27 through 30. Because of his yearning, it is he who sends down clear signs to his servant. The Almighty is the nourisher to perfection. It says of the worlds, all the worlds, Rabbi al-Alameen, both in the physical and in the spiritual sense. His physical and spiritual nurturing, Rabubiyah, is not limited to a particular creation, a revelation. Wahi is a special manifestation of divine Rubiyah. It said Rububiyah that is not restricted to any particular period of time. Listen, people. This divine revelation is not restricted to any particular period of time or to any particular people or race. This goes for the Arabs and those who claim they're Israelites, think that the revelation is only for them. It is manifested in every period to his selected servants from among all nations. To believe that the process of revelation has stopped after such and such a prophet, or that this blessing was limited to one chosen people or one chosen language, amounts to rejecting his universal lordship. This is coming from a credible source, and they're telling you that you can't stop prophecy and prophethood. So this is for all those who had the question, you see. But I got another measure here because I'm done. I'm done pretty much at the end. And we're going to open up the floor. I got another measure dealing with this same spirit. You cannot put a restriction on the spirit. That's why in chapter 1 we say you cannot circumscribe the great God. You can't draw no circle around Allah. You're going to lock Allah up. You're going to bind Allah. Please, the arrogance. And we know where that arrogance comes from. You know? Okay, here we go right here. This was actually this is speaking of a Hadithi Qudsi, and I speak on it all the time. You know, and this is actually speaking, you know, it says, you know, let's put it right here. It says, he asked Iblis, what prevented you from submitting to him, whom I created with my two hands? His two hands are as if left hand and his right hand, both similar yet opposite. He composed human outer form from the natural cosmic realities and shapes, but his inner form, his essence, he composed to match his own polarities. In a well-known Hadithi Qudsi, Allah says, I become his hearing and his sight. He didn't say I am his eye and his ear. He says, in order to show distinction between two forms, the perceptible and the imperceptible. It says Allah describes himself manifest and hidden. So are the two forms of the human being manifest, his outward form and hidden, his spiritual form. It says your outward body form, it say in that you are transient, but eternal in your essence. That is your spiritual form. Why it could be otherwise, he has breathed into you his spirit. And we already quoted these surahs and ayats. You know, 32 and 9, 38 and 72. It is this synthesis that makes the human superior to angels, and I see that's a misprint, and his soul eternal. The actions of your soul, the immortal virtues of the soul. You know, this is where your harmony come from, family. You know? So let me get this ayat right here. But we know we're going to have a few crickets anyway, so it ain't like we missing too much. But and we'll open it up. I just want to make sure we make clear, you know, of the master that is more honorable than the walls. I want to go into the essence and show you the difference between spirit man, and carnal man. And then you understand exactly how it is fearlessly and marvelously you are made. And I'm coming from, this text here to show you that this ain't just something made up. No truth contradicts another truth, family. It's saying the same thing the prophet said, but this is an orthodox source. You just got to know the right source. So anyway, here it is right here, this one portion here. Yeah, this was the one. It says, if human faculties are the source of morals and immoral actions emanate from humans, must you then understand that some of these emotions and faculties are evil in themselves? The Holy Quran has answered this question in the negative, teaching that the headwaters of the human birth are not muddy, nor is sin and immoral behavior an intrinsic part of human nature. So you don't need the evil, people. Evil is not something that's requisite to man. That ain't something you need. That's something you chase after, or something you go to running after. And that's what the problem is with most of fallen humanity. Okay, so let me hit these last three right here real quick. And then we're going to open up. Let's see here. And we'll give definitely our family a measure. Okay, Surah 70. Oh, I mean, page 577. There it is, right there. And it was actually this portion right here. Well, it was actually talking about, just like we had a breath, it says they seek to put out the light of Allah, Surah 9, Ayah 32. You have those who seek to put out the light of Allah with the breath of their mouth. And this illustrates the efforts of non-believers to attack, Islam and Islamism through missionaries of propaganda. They can't put the light out, because the light is in you. You see what I'm saying? So they can't put the light out unless you believe that their power extend beyond that of the great God Allah. See, and it talks about it here. It says the works of the reformers, the Mujahideen, the Mehdi, the saints, the Awliya. It says those endowed with special divine favors and blessed with divine knowledge, they would carry the original light. Although the opponents and enemies of Allah will repeatedly try to blow out the light with the breath of their mouths, indicating the use of misleading information and propaganda. Their fruitless efforts will be hard for them to bear. And y'all have seen that many times that they tried to come up against this truth. They can't blow this light out with their mouths. This ain't some scrawny, flame. This is eternal flame when it comes to dealing with the truth. And last but not least, we had a last one here. We just showing you the powers, family. When we talk about saving power, it's in you. So everything our people been looking for outside of themselves, that's the problem. You've been worshiping and looking for gods outside of yourself. And that's why you don't understand and comprehend the reality of God that's ever present. The omnipresence of God within you. It's the light, it's the breath, people. It's not the master of the house more honorable than its walls. I didn't say that. That's the question that the prophet brought back. So this is the last portion right here. It says, the creator wanted to be known by his creation. And there are endless veils between the creator and his perfect creation. He loved them because he created him. And so he wanted to lift those veils. For this purpose, he then perfected his soul by breathing into him of his spirit. And he gave him eyes to perceive him, ears that he could listen to his sweet voice, and intellect, not in human words, and that could understand his words spoken by him. Breathing into him his spirit is a metaphor for the divine gift of life, consciousness, and revelation. The word ruh is used in the Holy Quran in the sense of divine revelation and mercy. Ruh, a revelation, is under divine command and not a part of Allah's essence. It says, this command originates from the one who endowed the human being with all the sustenance and requirements of his life so that he may know who the source is. The causeless cause, rootless root, beginningless beginningless, unmoved mover, whatever name you want to give it. This command rule requires prostrating oneself before the Creator and sustaining in submission and thanks. Thus, this human being has no excuse left to not submit before his Lord in obedience. In other words, link your will up with the deific will. Conform to the deific will. It says, or he will be counted among the thankless. You wouldn't be able to accomplish nothing unless you do this, family. So that being said, we want to give honors to all of y'all that's on the manifest, and we're going to open up the floor at this particular time. Again, we have our subject matter dealing with the holy instruction from the prophet, the breath from heaven. And we also have this special drawing, that we are dealing with the ayat. Vaunt not this body now because it was first formed. Don't get arrogant, nor your brain because you think you know something. Because then your soul and your actions of your soul reside. Is not the master of the house more honorable than its walls? That's the question. So want to give honors to your family. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. So star 6 your phone, Moors. The floor is open. We got a few minutes for you.
Islam,
Islam, Sister Curta Bay.
Islam. Dr. Dendra Nia Curtis Bay. First, let me rise and give.
Sister Cameron, we'll get you in a second. Dendra came before you. All right, goddess?
Islam. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah, give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, give honors to Act One. I give honors to all my good officials, and I give honors to you, National Assistant Grand Sheik. I tell you, whoo-wee, good gracious, I'm trying to keep up. I tell you, this was a powerful, powerful class. I mean, you covered, I just thoroughly enjoyed everything. And your subject, Vaunt not thy body, because it was first formed, nor of thy brain, because therein thy soul resideth. Is not the master of the house more honorable than its walls? And that last part of that ayat, I tell you, it made me think of, go back to our chapter when our prophet was teaching us about religion, and he said, there is but one Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. And then he said, in that ayat too, he said, to the one who is supreme, most wise and beneficent, to him alone belong worship, adoration, thanksgiving, and praises. And I tell you, that was so powerful when you, that's where my heart went when you was sharing just some of the things that you was teaching us about tonight. And then the other thing that stood out to me when you was talking about time and dealing with Allah, and how with Allah, like 1,000 years, we used to say 1,000 years is just like one day with the great God Allah. And it made me think about how, we as Moorish kin, we have to be patient with what the great God Allah is doing right here in this divine movement, in this government, because you hear ones may complain about what we're not doing and all of that. We are right where we should be, because Allah don't deal in your kind of time, because like we say, like you were saying, 1,000 years is just like a day to him. And so just think about other governments and things, how long it took them to get to where they were supposed to be. So give us that same consideration. Be patient and stand firm. And I tell you, God, man, if we, like you say, if we don't know by now that the master is more honorable than the walls, if we don't know that by now, after that powerful message you have given us tonight, I'm sorry, but I don't think we go ever know. Islam, God, man, gratitude, because I know we got other people want to share. Gratitude for let me share. Islam, peace and love.
Islamism, goddess and queen. We give honors to you for that drawing. Powerful measure. Gratitude. All right. Well, our sister Cammy at? Sister Cammy, what do you have to say about the breath from heaven, sister? Light us up, Sister Cammy, with that truth. If you there. All right. I think our sister said she was having some technical difficulties early, so maybe she'll come back around. Well, all right.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we hear you now. There you go, goddess. I hear you loud and clear. You got the flow.
Gratitude. I put the phone on double mute, and I was just talking, not realizing I needed to start six. You said something about the holy breath.
Yeah, the breath of heaven.
Brain. What you say? Entertain.
Yeah, the instruction from the prophet, the breath of heaven.
The breath of heaven. Because all I could make out was entertain Sister Cammy or something. And that's what I intend to do. Gratitude. This Sister Cammy. I'm in Michigan. I rise, honor, and praise the great God Allah. I honor His Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Officials, citizens, Moors here, there, and everywhere. Especially my Moorish kin. Entertain as far as the Roman Moorish, or the Moorish language. Give attention or consideration to an idea, suggestion, or feeling. As far as entertain your brain, when you take into consideration, think about, contemplate, give attention or consideration to, that's stimulating your brain and your thought pattern. So stimulating your brain and your thought pattern, that's the intention of the holy breath. And I don't know why I keep thinking holy breath regarding tonight's perspective. But the holy breath in your brain is capable and competent. And on all five, when you lay a foundation and you know mastermind and scientists, when you're equally yoked and highly intelligent because Allah made you. You come from that perfect seed. And that perfect sweet seed ain't crazy, ain't no fool, nothing else. That holy breath. That's the holy breath in your head, in your mind above the neck. When you make that foundation, since you like to work on houses, when you actually create something, and you know it's not going to come into fruition until 100 years. And no, we are not the prophet. No, we Drew Ali. But when you mastermind it, and I thought about Willie Lynch and his mastermind, worshiping God outside of yourself. And someone that's an intelligent being. And when you're not equally yoked, it's not going to work out. When you're equally yoked, when you stimulate your brain, we are doctors of the divinity, which is the same status or stature of reverends, ministers, priests, witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses. We were able to study multiple texts. Your brain to go in three directions. What I heard, Mastermind, was three different languages. When you go back predating all things Roman, when you go all the way back to the sea and that foundation and it coming into fruition, it predates the Americas as we know it. You will only be in the flesh for about 100 years. And you demonstrate in your daily demonstration. You're not having split personalities. That's your higher self and the lower self. The holy breath. When you let go of that Roman ideology, and you come into your own, in your thought process and your thought pattern. Free.
Well, sound like we lost our sister. But grand measure, Islam. Well, all right. Is there any other more who would like to come forth and exercise their fire?
Islam,
Islam, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay. Go ahead, grand man.
gratitude for calling me.
Oh my God, gratitude.
Oh, wait a minute.
Islam,
back?
thank you, Sister Cammy, for your measure. You gave a grand drawing, Goddess. Thank you. All right. Yeah, go ahead, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay.
Gratitude. Yes, this is Dr. Marvin Edwards Bay out of the Texas Consulate, rising and giving all praise to the great God Allah, giving highest honors to his prophet, our prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali Al-Haj Sharif Abdul Ali. Give high honors to our theocratic government, our Morris American government. Give high honors to our Act 1. I give high honors to all of our officials. I give high honors to this class, our Morris Prospectus class, as well as I give honors to you, Dr. Sheru Emetia Moedu Sepsuel, our National Assistant Grand Sheik of Morris America. This is a very powerful class, very powerful. I give honors to all those that aided in bringing forth this class this evening. Give honors to everything that's Morris, our flag, our seal, our emblem, our divine constitution, our Holy Quran, our Book of Ali, our 101s, 102s, our exhument of a nation, all of our divine revelations. I give honor. I give honor to the forerunner of our prophet, Dr. Marcus Mosegava El, as well as I give honor to the ancestors whose shoulders we stand upon. We are the return of the ancient ones. I give honor to all those that gave their marriages before me, and all that will give their marriages after me. This is a very powerful class, as I said, and it to me it just leaves one humble, you know what I mean, and grateful, you know, to be here in this new era of time now, to receive these lessons on such a high level, you know what I mean, because now we are ready for them. You know what I mean? We can comprehend, you know what I mean? But on this one, I know I'm gonna have to go back and look at the playback, listen to the playback, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, you cover some high ground, and I'm just really grateful for being here, and I continue to be humble, you know what I mean? Because La ilaha illallah, you know what I mean? Muhammad, you know, there's no God but the great God Allah. And so, you know what I mean? And that alone puts one in the proper perspective to humble themselves, to be grateful, you know what I mean? To continue to give praise to the great God Allah. You know what I mean? And as we grow in understanding, you know what I mean, we can truly be vicegerents. We can truly be witness to this truth that there's no God but the great God Allah. Gratitude, God, man, for all you do for the Morris American government. Islam, Islam, Islam.
And gratitude for the measure, brother. I see in the world is that sound.
Islam.
Okay, Brother Muhammad Bey, I hear something coming through. Go ahead and speak, brother. Sound like you got two apparatuses on them. You hear that coming in as I speak?
Islam, apologize for interruption, Grand Man. I'll be short and brief. Islam Muhammad Bey and Dr. Gerald Hamid Muhammad Bey of the South Carolina Consulate. I want to give praise to our Father God Allah, give honors to His holy prophet, our holy prophet, Prophet Noble Jew Ali. I want to give honors to our Grand National Seal, our Grand National Emblem, and our Grand National Flag. And I want to give honors to this class, give honors to
So,
you,
bruh,
Grand Man, for teaching.
you lost prevention?
Give me 1 second.
I said you lost prevention?
I muted
No?
my. There you go. Go ahead, Muhammad Bey.
Islam, and give honors to everything Moorish. Oh man, it's a grand class as always, Grand Man. You know, you covered a lot of ground. You know, I concur with our Moorish kin. When I think about this man, the title in itself, you know, in dealing with uh the first ayat. You know, we just come out of the previous chapter where it talked about the knowledge of the self. And so when you're talking about this for me, and you know, coming along with these lessons that the prophet brought, when we're talking about that the body, see, it says, want not the body. So when we go into Act 2 of our divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America, and you touched on this, it talked about man being formed in the flesh. So what we're doing is this class that you gave us a real insight into that process. And even the ayat talks about how the body was formed, that the brain, everything that was needed to house the spirit. We know there's a different process that went by, but this is no one else. There's no one else that came forth and taught that whole understanding, the insight, the breakdown of how the soul was housed. I mean, how the spirit was housed in the soul and the soul was manifested on the plane of things made manifest. But the whole subject matter, the key of this subject matter is the breath of heaven. In this Moorish science, we say, the prophet said, this is called the holy breath. What is another name in our questionnaire that we give to the holy breath? And vice versa. It's talking about the truth, the spirit of the truth. And we're taught that heaven, what is heaven? Well, we know that heaven is a state of mind. So we're talking about this truth, this spirit of truth, which is a state of heaven. This is such a great class. And then it talks about the master of the house, because as we know, at some point, this flesh, this body will cease to exist. But that breath, which is the essence or the master, as it says in this verse, is greater than the temple, the physical temple we're talking about. The prophet also spoke about the temple of perfected man, which is not something made out of matter. We're talking about spirit man. And that spirit man is the essence of everything that we are. Because as it says, we are a part and a partial of the great God. I believe it was Dr. Marvin that was there, and I'm going to end with this. He just stated about we are return of the ancient ones. So this whole ayat that you gave, brother, takes us all the way back to give us an understanding of our bodies, of our brain, our mind, of everything in the temple, so that we can understand that we are more than the flesh. We're not the body or the soul, we're spirit. That's what I got from the teaching. The main thing is to recognize the truth of who and what we are. We're spirits in the temple of the flesh. Islam and gratitude. Thanks for letting me share, Grandman.
In Islam, and gratitude for the measure, brother. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. All right. We got a few more minutes, Moors. Come forth if you would like to give your portion. Is there anyone that would like to exercise their fire? All are welcome. Ain't no need in being scared. This is just yourself, family. This is yourself.
You want me to go first? This is Sister Cammy.
Oh no, we want
9:04.
No, we waiting on somebody else, Sister Cammy. We giving them extra time, but we want somebody that haven't spoke yet.
Yep, you don't have to give me an explanation, so I was just asking because you called someone to the floor. Did nobody want to step up?
Yeah,
all
gratitude, Islam. Well, I just had dropped my link in there too if anybody wanted to speak from our audience as well. So we'll give them a few seconds. And in the process of that, what we want to say is this, and it all boils down to really knowing the self, family, and being the self. And we trying to show our people the reality of God as opposed to, the assumption of who God is. And that's what we've been really hammering in. That's what we've been harping upon. And if you pay attention, we've been doing it mostly in a lot of the classes we've been following up with. And we are giving you evidence in these books as to what's being said, meaning the ones that most people have accepted, and they may have been reading these things, but they have never went deep into the essence of this information. And it's been there all the time. And that's why Prophet Noble Drew Ali told the Moors, when you get the pen in your hand, then you communicate, you write the history. You see? So, that's the special drawing. We want to give honors to our family out here for showing up too, as well. Faithfully, these brothers and sisters, they show up. Give honors to, again, the family, Capricorn, Magi, Kamaat, Gary Miles, Bay, honors to you, C-Mac, honors to you, Born Dog, honors to you. Who else is Atham 79? Honors to you, brother. Creator of the boundless universe. Honors to your family. Marquise, honors to you. Thad, D, honors to you. All of you, family, because y'all always showing up. Honors to the sister Janet Woden Bay as well. So praise be to Allah. Allah is leading on and victory is sure. So at this time, since we have nobody that would like to come forth, we're going to go to our officials then. All right, starting with our sister All Set Moon there. Islam, you there, Goddess?
Islam Grandman, the goddess is presently on a mission. She's unavailable. Peace and love.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Allah is leading on and victory is sure. Well, all right, let us call upon our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Kanshu Ma'ak Herube. Islam, you there, God, man?
Islam.
Islamism.
It's our religion, grand class, grand man. We rise, first and foremost, giving all thanksgiving, adoration, worship, and praise to the only one worthy of those things, the great God of the universe, our Father God, Allah, most beneficent and the most wise. We give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in these days and in these times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the savior of humanity. We give honors to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honors to his government, our government, the Moorish American government, the government in which we live. According to Act 6, we give honors to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers and our swift angels, our mufti, our royal council, our secretaries. We give honors to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honors to our flag, our divine constitution and bylaws, Holy Quran, our Grand National Seal, our Grand National Emblem, our Book of Fire, the exhument of a nation. We give honors to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honors to you, National Sister Grand Sheik, for bringing forth this grand Moorish perspective this evening. We give honor to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us, and to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honors to you, angels. We just continue to give the honors where they're due. We honor all true and divine prophets. Yes, we give honors to our ancestors as they have come before us, leading the way, and we are them today without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his descent nature. This power extends beyond the universal creator Allah himself, and we already know about that. So praise Allah. It's been a grand class. The breath of heaven is like one said, it just falls up in line with the conversation that the prophet is having with his Moorish American citizens, with his kin. You know, to me is, just like our divine constitution is, and bylaws is a conversation between anyone who wants to know who the Moorish Americans are and him. When you read it, it's a plain conversation that you're having with him. And this is the same way as he's giving this lesson, the breath of heaven. Because once we come out of what you said, know the self, you got to know that, Allah breathed forth. And this is where one came from, the thought of the generator. We are the generations. That one, the first creator, that took from himself and planted that thought into the soul of soul. And the breath is just correlation to the vibration, because everything is frequency. So once we see that the frequency or the breath of heaven is that of a creation, a certain vibration creating that which has consciousness, what we call, humanity, who has dominion over the plane of soul and the plane of things made manifest. We're looking at coming back into the understanding of my people that we from the divine, that our source is divine, that God and man are one. We're not separate. We are not separate in any shape or form. It all is from the divine. We can all come from the divinity that is the universe. And there is no separation. As much as one thing, you could jump off the ground and you could be in the air and separated from the body. You're not. It's just like the kneecap. The kneecap head connected to the thigh bone or the shin, and one is sitting there floating with the cartilage, and that one could think that, hey, I'm out here by myself. I'm just a kneecap. But we know that the knee, you still part of the whole body. Just like every digit in your finger that's separated by the cartilage, every bone separated. As you look at take it all, say, well, I'm separate from the body. I'm my own thing. I'm my own piece of bone. No, you're a part of this whole body. And so that, I think that, when the people come together and realize that in the same sense of divine, that as much as you think you is separated, you're not. You come from the divine. You're a part of the whole body of divinity. No one else has this birthright. And we got to use it for our good. And first one has to recognize in himself, you got to come to the epiphany, to the thought pattern, to realize, Emmanuel, the God and man of one, that you ain't got to go outside of yourself to meet Allah. That you are a part of the whole, whether you really you think you are or not, and everything that you do influences and affects everything else, because every action has an opposite and equal reaction, or as a every action has an outcome and a consequence added to that. So, what we do is we move in the divine, and we get back in abundance. So it's just been a grand class. I just want to add that to the measure of gratitude for the class this evening, Dr. Shahi. Gratitude to you, Morris America, for being here with us, for giving us your time, attention, respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
And we love you too, brother, and the family and the tribe. The love is mutual. Islamism without the schism. Let us call forth our Grand National Secretary of the State, Sister Shepsut Rakat Ma'at and Pooh, Tutankhamun Bay, Islam. You there, Goddess and Queen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Close as a thought. Woo-wee.
Islam.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. You definitely vibrated Ethan, Dr. Shaheed. Islam Morishkin. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, with angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish kin. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving a special honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shadowal Menti El-Muhaddith Shepsuel, for opening our meeting according to law and also hosting a Grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. We want to give honor also to our National Brand Secretary, State of Indiana, Dr. Saya Naki New Heferu L, for taking registration, and also to our National Grand Mufti of Moorish America, Dr. Kunshu Mayat Heru Bey, for reading our subject chapter for the week. Our subject matter, we want to give honor to all of our family online, that has a listening ear, open mind. Much gratitude to you, family. We definitely appreciate the support. Our subject matter coming from Ayat 1 of our chapter entitled Holy Instructions from the Prophet, the Breath of Heaven. Vaunt not thy body, because it was first formed, nor of thy brain, because therein thy soul resideth. Is not the master of the house more honorable than its wall? And I tell you, this class was another paradigm shift in my a special journey. I tell you, much gratitude to you, Dr. Shaheed, for the clarity, and also the various source materials and reference, so that we take these keys, go back and do the research so that we can be what we know, not what we're told. And this is truly a blessing, because when we look at it from the master of the house, now we can see more clearly dealing with us being in our God state or spirit man. And is not spirit man more honorable than this flesh? So now we see why it's not necessary for us to vaunt not the body. That's the slowest plane that there is, and we give praises to Allah for providing us with our special faculties and virtues. And when you were speaking about just a couple of things that I wanted to pull out, that was such a blessing. When you were speaking about being the light bearer, and dealing with the particles of dust. But you think this is just made up of some mud of the earth? Let me go even further, and being able to recognize flesh divine. And we, as you stated, all truth is one. And when we look at the word MAOR, dealing with that luminous body, the light particles, the small dust, and how all of this was, you could actually see the various creation cycles. When I looked at that word that you brought forth there, ruh, or rahat, or rahum, and the meaning, rest from grief, fatigue, and sadness. And then the every good and pure thing, mercy or aid to an enemy. And it just had me reflect on in the lesson where the prophet speaks about spirit never weeps. You know, and one looks forward to the time when they are able to unfold into that level of fruition. And that to me was that rest from grief, misery, all kinds of things on that plane, because as universal law states, lower self or evil is not requisite to man. So we don't have to have it. And just being able to see in the various source materials, whether you were coming from the Hebrew aspect or dealing with the Passean record, coming from the Quran, and stating that you've got two different demonstrations, and this is what the Quran states. You know, all of these are additional sources for us to build upon. And we recognize the fact that we are building the temple of perfected man within ourselves. And this lets us know how beautifully and wonderfully that we are made. You know, we are just so blessed to have these keys, to have this understanding and this wisdom, and not just for ourselves itself, but to be able to pass it on to our brothers and sisters, the rest of the nations of the earth. Now we can see why they looked at our mindset as a galactic weapon, because of our source of divinity and where we pull from. And even when it was speaking about the soul searching for truth, even to the ends of the earth, now you can see why. It is natural to return back to your source, you know, your source of divinity. And we definitely have a table that the prophet has prepared for us. You know, we are able to feed from the ethers of our native plane, which is spirit. You know, so this has just been a grand class. Much gratitude to you, more, for bringing forth all these keys, your due diligence, your study, you know, and it's definitely been an enlightenment for self. So gratitude, more, for calling me forward. Our chairman is not available this evening, but much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Great class, Dr. Shaheed. Gratitude.
In Islam, Grand National Secretary of State, we give honors to that most luminous measure you brought forth, you know, because every time we hear from our Moorish kin, you know, we are most definitely getting a lesson from the blessing, so to speak, and a blessing from the lesson. You know, this is what we say reciprocal helping, mutual obligations. We are able to take these measures to a higher rate of vibration as a result of the echo of divinity, you know, the reverberation, so to speak, of the truth being spoken and vibrating the ethers. So we give honors to you, goddess and queen, and everybody that spoke, you know, because there was indeed a golden cord of love that was linked up with this special measure, you know. And so praise be to Allah, Islam, line of divinity, uniting divinity in the matter, right? Let us call forth our national Grand Sheikh if he's present, Dr. Serapis Amin Rael. Islam, are you there, National Grand Sheikh? Sound like we heard.
Dr. Shaheed. Yes, the National Grand Sheikh was on the line. It looked like his call dropped.
It sound like it just dropped, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yes,
let's give him a second to come back in here. And Islam, you know, while he's coming back in here, you know, just speaking to our family that's out there, we just want to let you know that we honor all of y'all for showing up, especially when we have our late night library sessions. Y'all show up, man, and we go all the way almost to the sunrise. Sometime we be in this truth, loving it so much. And so the best is yet to come. You know, the main thing that we have to demonstrate, and I would say, is that as a people, we got to start from the head down, so to speak. You know, in other words, if we free the mind, and everything else will follow. And so we are trying to make sure that our people have a clear conception of who their creator is, who the supreme being is, who the great God is. And once they understand that, can't nobody take that from them, because the methodology that we use in the methodology of our ancestors. The same teaching that our ancient ancestors demonstrated from Kemet all the way over into the west coast of Africa among the Sira people even. They believed that we were the conduits of the attributes of our creator. And once we understand that, we will begin to change our conditions. A lot of what it is we lack because we've been praying, but not realizing that our salvation is at the extension of our own arm. We say the hand is symbolic to the mind due to its ability of being able to shape, mold, to obtain, retain. You can build what you want to with your own mind. Islam. Is our National Grand Sheik present again, Grand National Secretary of the State?
No, sir. He's got to be having technical difficulties, Dr. Shahi, because he hasn't returned back to the board.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Well, we'll close it out then. Islam. Islamism without the schism. January 15, 1929. A warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen, a group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where the prophet found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By the order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we bring forth this divine decree. Chapter 25, a holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Yea, the children of one father provided for by his care, and the breasts of one mother have given you so. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Moorish movement, divine movement, everlasting movement. Go in peace, Muslims. Peace and love. Islam.
Great class. Great class. Great class.
Islam. Peace and love to our family. Peace and love to our family. We love you, family.
Great class. Don't forget to pay your dues, Moors. Don't forget to pay your dues. We love you, Moors.
Islam. Allah's leading on, family. And honest to all our family out there again. Y'all already know it's love. And we'll see y'all at the next measure.
Islam.
Peace and love. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. For those who want to come into our class and learn about the Arabic and the Arabic, you know, we're going to be starting on that lesson tomorrow. So, Islam, Sister Curtis Bay, you know it's love.
Islam.
You know, Islamism.
Islam.
Praise be to Allah.
Islam.
Gratitude.